very, very good evening to you and welcome to our special pre-election show. My name is Leanne Manus. It's great being with you. In tonight's show, we'll be crossing live to our reporters in Inanda in KwaZulu-Natal. Blaine Herman is standing by to give us the latest from there. And in Nandoni in Venda, we've got our reporter Ruzani Chivase, who we're going to be chatting to a little bit more in this program. But let's start off the program as usual with a brief look at the main election stories of the day. ANC President Jacob Zuma has been busy on the campaign trail. Today, he was campaigning in Hammersdale, west of Durban.
In Hammersdale, Zuma's visit brought a shopping centre to a virtual standstill. He then crisscrossed the township to canvass votes. His next stop was at nearby Marion Hill. Later, Zuma also interacted with the residents of Wentworth, south of Durban. It's an area that struggles with environmental issues as well as crime and drugs. In Soweto, south of Johannesburg, DA leader Helen Zille and the party's Gauteng Premier candidate Musi Maimane held a door-to-door campaign. The party leaders were followed by a large group of supporters. Residents raised concerns about housing and unemployment.
We are going to make sure the people of Soweto have title deeds. You can take us to court, but we will make sure small businesses are going forward so that the people of Soweto have jobs. You can take us to court, but we are going to make sure corruption is finished.
In Alexandra, COPE took its campaigning to the Alexandra Women's Hostel. The delegation, led by COPE Deputy President Willie Madisha, encountered the dreadful conditions the women and children face each day.
For more than 20 years, you can see that nothing has changed altogether. This is an indication that this government has failed.
At Mthatha in the Eastern Cape, members of the South African National Civic Organisation, SANCO, swore allegiance to the ANC. They said the ANC had done a great deal for them and they would vote for it in the coming elections.
We are a people-driven organization, people-driven development that we want to see happening. Once they understand that, they relate that to the policies of the ANC, of which they were not accessible to them when they were in their political parties.
And in Durban, the newest political party today launched its election manifesto. The KwaZulu-Natal Transport Alliance will contest the coming elections only in that province. The party hopes to secure at least 5 seats in the provincial legislature. The KZN Transport Alliance says, due to growing discontent in the taxi industry and government negligence, it's decided to give this constituency a voice.
Please do take part in tonight's show. All you have to do is send us an email to elections@sabc.co.za or your SMSs to 33726. Begin your message with the word vote. Do remember that the SMS is going to cost you R1.50. For tweets, use the hashtag SABC elections. And you can also find us on Facebook at SABC News Online. Mr. President, I have come to report to you that South Africa is free today. A compelling statement made 20 years ago by a political giant at the grave of a struggle pioneer. Blaine Herman has more on this seminal moment in this country's history.
Inanda, KwaZulu-Natal, a green and hilly township north of Durban. 27th April 1994, Nelson Mandela makes international headlines once again, this time at an event that will change South Africa forever. He casts his vote in this country's first racially inclusive election. Flanked by senior ANC officials, he takes a place in history for all time. The venue, Ohlange High School. John Dube, the first president of the ANC, is buried here. He founded the school over a century ago. Vusumuzi Sangweni was the school principal at the time. He walks me through an intense day that's etched in his memory forever.
It became then very important when Dr. Mandela decided to come and cast his vote here at Ohlange.
And this was the very spot that former President Nelson Mandela was voting.
Where we are standing, this is where he cast his national vote, because we had to take out the ballot box for the national one. It did the provincial one inside the chapel, and we had to take this one out here because of the journalists. They wanted to have photos. So,
and I'm sure it was a frenzy. What was the mood like back then?
it was organized, very organized chaos relating to positions and arguments about the very same ballot box, because all the journalists were saying it must go out and be there. And the argument on my side was that we can't, because it has to be within the chapel, which is the voting station, and the voting station extends up to here.
2 decades later, that moment and this school serves as inspiration for these so-called born-frees.
To me, it really is a privilege to be in the school. And to think that the school was the first black school established by a black person really inspires me a lot, because it shows me that as a young woman with determination and focus, then I can achieve anything I want to achieve in life.
Such a significance to me in my life as being part of the school, as so many pioneers have walked through these gates and have experienced what I've experienced, has been through these walls, these such ancient walls, and I get to experience that along with so many names. The list is endless.
The first female deputy president of the country, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, currently heading a subcommittee in the United Nations, was a student here and a teacher here. Former Minister of Justice Penuel Maduna was a student here. Former Minister of Agriculture Tokoti Diza was a student here. The first ever black player to go and play overseas, Kalamazumo Kone, the first, who is currently residing in Holland, he was a student here.
And the list goes on. A humble school that hosted an event of international repute, epitomizing years of struggle. Blaine Herman, SABC News, Durban.
What a stunning, stunning report there by Blaine Herman. And I tell you that those shots that you saw of Mandela, that when he was putting his ballot into the box, there was massive planning behind there. I must say, I was told the story when during the days that we were reporting on the passing of Mandela, and the directors that were there at the time directing that particular broadcast were with us, and they were telling us the story about how that actually worked. So Blaine is actually with us live this evening. He's in Inanda, and he's been following the story, and one can only imagine that it's stirred up a lot of emotions within him. Blaine, good evening to you. What sort of impact did Madiba's historic first vote have on tourism in this particular area?
Yeah, good evening, Leanne. Good evening, everybody. We come to you live from Inanda, north of Durban. It is indeed, this area was in sharp focus when the former President Nelson Mandela cast his vote here in 1994, just nearby, in fact, at the Ushlange High School. And, it really gripped the world's attention, Leanne, and rightfully so, I guess, because it was a seminal moment in our country's history. It had a profound impact in many aspects of this country, including that of tourism, and in particular in this area of Inanda. Now, let's further this conversation. Let's talk a bit more about it. We're joined now by Philip Sithole. Philip Sithole is the head of Durban Tourism. Philip, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this special broadcast. We're talking about tourism. We're talking about the impact that Nelson Mandela had, especially here in Inanda. What sort of impact did he have?
Well, the impact was huge. The impact was huge because Madiba was an icon, and it was a first democratic election. And his coming to Inanda, it took the place Inanda to another level in terms of exposure. So that was the impact. The impact in as far as the city of Durban is concerned was also very big, because it further entrenched the fact that Durban is one of those cities that played a major role towards the liberation of South Africa.
Yeah, just on that, despite this region's apparent obscurity, historical roots run deep here, which also plays well into tourism, isn't it?
Yes, if you look at the entire route and the city as a whole, but if maybe we can just focus on Inanda, less than 2 kilometers away from this site, it's a house of Mahatma Gandhi, who is another international icon who fought for peace, not only in South Africa, but globally. He fought for peace and justice. And Madiba, years later, came on board to fight for democracy and freedom in South Africa. So it's unusual to have two international icons having been had a mark in one area. So Inanda happens to be one of those areas where these two international icons have made a mark. Another icon that could be mentioned here is Kingsley Seme, who's one of the founders of the ANC and one of the former presidents of the African National Congress. He was a resident of this area, and his house is less than 3 kilometers away from this particular site. So the area is rich in terms of history, culture, and heritage of South Africa.
Indeed. Just very briefly, in terms of the names, a lot of names have been changed in Durban. Has that had a big impact here in Durban, just very briefly?
Well, the changing of names has not had a major impact. As soon as names are confirmed, it's up to business and communities to familiarize themselves with names. So major tour operators who are working with us marketing the city, they're aware of the new names and they've made sure that in their brochures those names have been featured.
Talking about tourism, Philip Sitole, thank you very much indeed for your time. Philip Sitole is the head of Durban Tourism. Talking about Inanda, we're learning more about Inanda today, and it is basically relatively a peaceful area. We're talking politics in the lead up to the May 7th poll. We haven't heard much in terms of political intolerance. We haven't had much reports about political violence in this area. But, as you take a drive through the streets of Inanda, you see a plethora of posters, political posters, lining the streets, which kind of gives you, Leanne, an indication that campaigning will indeed hot up right here. And we'll definitely keep a close eye on Inanda. Leanne.
Blaine, thank you very much for that report. Such an interesting story to tell from that part of the world. Inanda in KwaZulu-Natal. You talk about posters, Blaine, they're all over the place. You know that elections are less than a month away. There isn't a light in Johannesburg's streets that there isn't a poster of a political party's face or emblem. I'm sure in your part of the country as well. Let's take a break. We'll be back right after this. Stay tuned.
Tell these rappers switch. We on some other. Ain't you on to the next? Ain't you on to the stupid butt up. We out. I got the switch.
5, 4, 3, 2.
I'd like 20 rands during meat, please.
I'm sorry, it's gone up again.
Don't worry, I know what to do. New meatier taste.
New meatier taste for the meatiest tasting stews. Woza Norox, woza meatiness.
Joburg Theatre, in association with SABC2, presents Daughters of the King. Don't miss this music spectacular, only over the Easter weekend. Get your tickets at selected Pick and Pay stores or at www.joburgtheatre.com now.
Here at the Debonair's Pizza Amazon Kitchen, we have
a fantastic deal for real.
For real.
Try this filling chicken and sweet bell pepper or this delicious ham and cheese real deal pizza, both loaded with cheese and quality ingredients. A real deal for only $19.90 each.
That's amazing.
No, it's amazing.
Debonair's Pizza. Try something amazing.
Picking it on who speak out.
E jowa ke mantšhelete e jelo ke tsone di treasure tsa rona ka re ba e drawile ko bank
jwale tšhelete e jowa jwa gona le batho ba itiri ba saena
ba re ba ile ndrola 3.8 ba bribe to do America.
ha yo ntho itse o tla ipatala tšhelete
nna ha ke tsebe ntho ba buang ka ena ba re ba tshepise re tla ba patala
Shebella Speak Out ka Bolabone 9:30 SABC2. You belong.
Right, welcome back, everybody. You're watching a special pre-election program here on SABC2. It's wonderful to have you with us this evening. Now, the provision of clean drinking water remains a challenge in many municipalities throughout the country. But the residents of the Victor Kanye municipality in Delmas are grateful for government intervention that led to the municipality's water supply being connected to Rand Water. Since 2011, the residents enjoy clean drinking water.
A relatively poor community where unemployment is high, especially among the youth. It's a surprising statistic, considering the area is surrounded by 13 mines and borders the country's economic hub, Gauteng. Due to the high presence of dolomite, Delmas' underground water is easily contaminated, resulting in the outbreak of waterborne diseases. 9 years ago, 24 people died after an outbreak of typhoid. In 2011, government intervened. A water purification plant and a reservoir were built.
The area of Delmas was once affected by typhoid epidemic. Now, this was because of the seepages that comes through from the latrine pit toilet, which were not good for human usage. Now, the high number of people has been moved to Butleng N12. This remaining number of shacks, we are in the progress of moving the people. We have done about the registration of the people, since you see there are new control numbers.
Like other municipalities, Victor Kanye continues to grow. Some people establish informal settlements. The areas they occupy are not conducive for human settlement, posing challenges to both the municipality and the informal settlers.
This place is not safe, especially for kids. There is a dumping site close by where there are tablets that our children sometimes eat, thinking they are sweets.
Not all is doom and gloom, though. Over the years, the municipality accelerated the process of transformation in line with the national government's policy.
Before 1994, our source of water as the municipality was mainly the boreholes. That is why before 1994 we had a challenge as the municipality to say most people had a challenge of diarrhea. But after 1994, the involvement of the province and the national, we were able to build a water purification plant, which meant that when the water is drawn from the borehole, it will go to the water purification plant before it goes to our community. But again, we have also built the reservoir, which was commissioned last year by National. That water reservoir is connected to Rand Water. As we speak, we don't have challenges of water anymore.
20 million South Africans did not have proper sanitation before 1994, and another 15 million had no access to potable water. 20 years later, according to authorities, these numbers have been drastically reduced. Spepile Gnene, SABC, Delmas.
All right, this is also a platform for you to air your views. You can do so by tweeting us. Just remember to put the hashtag SABC elections before your tweet. We'll find it and we'll read it out, just like we're about to do with this tweet right now. This comes from Onati Grootboom. I want all South Africans to vote and bring change to what is happening in this government. Thank you, Onati. Thank you for writing into us. You can also get hold of us on Facebook, and we'll pick up your message there. Just go to the SABC News page there on Facebook. KwaZulu-Natal, with its intense political rivalry and troubled past, has often made media headlines. The province has been haunted by political intolerance and violence for many years, but it seems things have changed over the past 2 decades.
KwaZulu-Natal in the late 80s and early 90s, a province racked by violence and political intolerance.
Closer to the 1994 elections, we saw a couple of incidents that were making reference to that first period. And then, of course, after 1994, things started easing down a little bit because there was this hysteria or this anxiety about the 1994 elections. Both the ANC and the Inkatha Freedom Party wanting to win the elections. Now, with the elections out of the picture, then things started slowing down a little bit.
But vigorous electioneering in the province's historical hotspots has put the spotlight on KwaZulu-Natal once again. Tempers have flared, but politicians are staying calm.
Our leader will never finish his speech these days without having had to also touch on the issue of behavior. The issue of what democracy is all about, because we know that people need to be continually taught about how to behave, that in a democracy, that somebody else opposes what you are saying does not mean that you are enemies, but it's the name of the game. We'll not always talk in one language, one tongue. There will always be differences, but what is important is we have to take South Africa forward.
Tolerance on the campaign trail has been top of the agenda, with impassioned pleas for peace.
To those people who still want us to go back to KwaZulu-Natal that used to smell blood, we are saying they all belong to jail, and otherwise are saying to our people, let us stop any attempts to revive violence in our province, because it is essential that we stop all forms of violence in our province to ensure that we use all our brain, all our power to ensure development and build the economy of this province.
And it seems the province's politicians and people have heeded the call. Significant strides have been made towards tolerance over the past 20 years.
Even the so-called no-go areas have been reduced to the minimum. In other words, political parties can canvass anywhere. We still find bits and pieces of those instances where there is political intolerance, but by and large, political parties can move around the province freely, and then even new political parties, interestingly, have also been accepted to operate in the province. So basically, looking at the build-up to the elections, we can see that, in fact, we are heading for something positive.
For now, it sounds as though political parties are in tune on one issue. Political tolerance is the key to harmony in KwaZulu-Natal. Blaine Herman, SABC News, Durban.
All right, let's take a look at a couple of the tweets that we are getting in here. That's coming from our viewers. In fact, we won't do them right now. We've got a few more. We're just getting them ready, and we'll show you some of the comments that viewers have sent us in this evening. First, let's take a break, and when we return, Minority Front leader Shamin Thakur Rajbanzi gets just 1 minute to convince voters to vote for her party. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to get served some extra cold music, fresh from the studio to your phone. Are you ready for an ice cold dose of musical refreshment? It's all here. Get your local and international music before everyone else does. 5 brand new tracks every week on Extra Cold Music.
Buy 2 Crosser Lights. Text your codes. Get 1 free track.
I love the spotlight, but it exposes an uneven skin tone. So I've started using new Clear Radiance Even Tone Complexion Cream. A 3-in-1 complexion cream that leaves me with radiant, even-toned skin. Now I can be me because I feel beautiful. So can you. Clear Radiance.
You're beautiful.
Join Pep Club and you could be one of 1,000 winners every day. Simply swipe your card every time you shop at Pep to earn 1 lucky for every rand you spend. Because every lucky you spend gives you a chance to win. To use your luckies, dial this number for free and enter competitions for a chance to win amazing prizes. With Pep Club and Pep, best prices and more.
This is for umama, who turned a bucket into a cafe. For those who know that with FNB, they can open an account that suits their pocket. And their new gold card is delivered for free. Switch to FNB Smart Banking.
Welcome back. You're watching Elections 2014, a special pre-election program series in which we highlight election issues in the run-up to the May 7th poll. In tonight's 1-minute soapbox slot, Minority Front leader Shamin Thakur Rajbanzi addresses voters.
Come the 2014 election on May the 7th, South Africans should vote for the Minority Front because we are the only party who speaks about the rights of minorities at all levels of government. And minority rights are human rights, and this is enshrined in the constitution of our party, and we are going to be the voice of the marginalized and the downtrodden and the sidelined.
All right, that was the Minority Front leader Shamin Thakur Rajbanzi appealing to you, the voter, to vote for her party. And she only used 28 seconds of her assigned 1 minute. Can you believe it? There you go. Before we say goodbye to you, let's take a look at those messages I was telling you about before the break. We'll put them up on screen. The first one comes from Tsepo saying that the 2014 elections, let's go out and vote. Let's do that. Good idea. This one coming from Retse Latswe. I hope I got your name right, I really do, saying that this election should continue to highlight the will of the people in an effort to consolidate democracy across South Africa. All the best, and all the best to you as well. And finally, Henry saying this program is biased towards the ANC. Do you really think so, Henry? All right, we value your opinions, and thank you for sending us your tweet. We try to give everybody their chance and their opportunity, and we cover all of the election stories that are happening around the country. It doesn't matter which political party it is, but you are entitled to your opinion, and we do thank you for sending that through. Also, I'd like to apologize for not being able to cross to our reporter in Venda tonight, but hopefully we'll be able to do so next week. And that's a wrap for this evening and a wrap for the week. We'll be back with more election news next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Until then, you take care of yourselves and have a wonderful evening. Enjoy 7 to 9. Bye-bye, everyone.